Hello everyone, I'm Alex, and I'm coming to you live from the Gaming Palace. That's what I call my bedroom. Super cool, I know. Given that it's the last week of November, currently, there have been some scheduling conflicts, so I am doing a solo video. You might see some more of these, just because I have crazy dreams and ambitions and a lot of video ideas that would probably just make more sense to do solo. We also just want to diversify the content on this channel, so if you're into this, let us know. Leave a like, leave a comment saying I'm so charming and handsome. We'll really appreciate that. Also, subscribe to our channel, join our Patreon. We have deals starting at $1 a month, and it is the best way to support us. In this video, I am going to be defending mid games and kind of just generally talking about my views on reviews and why they're not always the most helpful. Obviously, this isn't like a super novel concept or anything, but I think I have a few examples that I'd like to bring to light that could be interesting. I think reviews are interesting in general, just because it sometimes feels like a 7 is the minimum score a game can get and even like be considered worth anybody's time. Like a 7 is like, this game works and it's functional. And anything below that is just like the ultimate condemnation of the game and a personal attack on all of its creators. Not literally, obviously. But, like if a game gets a 5 or a 6, people will just completely overlook it. And I don't know, that's always interested me, and the reasons games get certain reviews have always interested me. And also just in the retro gaming community, I think as someone like who's coming to a lot of these older games, not growing up with them, it's just easy to have kind of a more bird's eye view on their quality and stuff like that. Not that my opinion is the be all end all, although I wish it was. But that's not what I'm saying here. I might have different views on things than people who grew up with these games. And here's one big example of that. I think one of my more world-renowned takes, you could say, on just game reviews being wonky and everything is Crash Bandicoot, specifically like the first game. I've gone back and played it, and I have played I played the original on original hardware. I have also played it on Xbox One, which is just, that's so funny to me that that's a thing now. But either way, this game is mid. In reality, like, can we all admit it? Like, the platforming in Crash just feels so weird. I don't hate this game. It's fun enough to play, and I do like the world. I hate Crash, though. Andy and I talked about this in the, like, hiring mascots video. Crash has just got weird vibes. I don't know. Something about him. I wouldn't want to hang out with him. I wouldn't want to be around him. He makes me a little uncomfortable. He just seems kind of gross. But regardless of that, this game was mid in a way that no other game had done before. It was like, it's a platformer, but the guy's kind of rude, and he's not fast like Sonic, so it's unique, and that's why people really flocked to it at the time. But, coming back to this game in the modern day, it really does not hold up. It's like, it's just so unpolished, and yeah, I think in reality, this game probably deserves more like a 5 or 6 out of 10 review, but just because of when it came out, it did really well. There's another game I have that I think is the opposite of this game. I'm not kidding. If someone asks me to recommend them, like an early 2000s platformer featuring a anthropomorphic creature with a lot of attitude as its main mascot, it's going to be Scalar. It's not going to be Crash. It's certainly not going to be Sonic. Mario doesn't have enough attitude. It's Scalar. This game, it's a 3D platformer. It doesn't do anything innovative or shocking. I would say it's pretty run-of-the-mill in terms of how the game is set up, but the platforming and like action combat in this game feel miles ahead of a game like Crash, which makes sense. It came out after they had more time to like perfect the style and figure out how things were supposed to work. But given all that, this game got like 5 or 6s out of 10s when it came out, and everyone was just like, yeah, it's another 3D platformer. And like, that's true. It is just another 3D platformer, but I feel like at least some level of objectively better than a game like Crash Bandicoot, because it's had more time to kind of absorb the norms of the genre instead of having to create them. And yeah, just going back in the modern day, I have more fun with a mid game like Scalar than a game that people would consider legendary like Crash Bandicoot. I guess just like timing and like who does what first, and like influence and stuff. So, since Crash did the whole 3D platforming thing first, not like literally first, I know there's other games before it, but it's a good example of a game that got a lot of praise, and I kind of still I still enjoy a game like Mario 64 and stuff like that, so it's not as good of an example to me. I have major issues with Crash, as we just went over, and yeah, it's interesting that that's how those scores went. This is also another example of a beautiful and wonderful mid game. To me, it's one of my favorite Dreamcast games of all time. I'm not going to say which position it's in, but if you want Andy and I to talk about our favorite Dreamcast games, get this video to 50 likes and we'll do it tomorrow. But yeah, this is another game that got like 5 out of 10s, maybe even worse, honestly, when it came out. Like, this game bombed in review scores. I genuinely love it. I mean, a lot of the reviews were saying things about like its visual style and just that it was too simplistic, it didn't really look next gen, and that like the story was weird and it didn't really innovate at all of those things are true, and I love all of those things. Like, there's no secret if you've heard me speak about video games. I love that like PS1 and 64 low poly 3D models. This has that, but just tiny bit more like polished or smooth because it is on a next gen console. But yeah, it doesn't look like a super polished Dreamcast game or like a PS2 game or anything like that. It definitely looks more last gen than Gen 6. But I don't know, I love it. Like, the story is really, really dumb in this game, but it's funny, and like the characters are aware of it. They're like, what the hell? Why am I in this world? This is so dumb. And then beyond that, it's pretty much just a run of the mill like dungeon crawler monster catcher game. The weird monster designs really are what make it stand out. Like, they look like no other creatures I've ever seen in any game. Yeah, I don't know. Combining monster catching and dungeon crawling, I'm always gonna like a game like that. And then it really just comes down to the aesthetics, which I get in like 2000 whatever when this game was released, 1999 or something. I don't know. People really did want that next gen experience, and this game didn't give it to them, so it got bad reviews. But when I'm going back and playing a Dreamcast, I don't want a next gen experience. I want a Dreamcast experience. And this game feels firmly stuck in the 2000s, which is exactly what I want. It has awesome mechanics, it nails its aesthetics, and I love it despite its mid reviews. But then I think another major example of this is when games are targeted at a certain demographic or a certain audience, and the reviewer obviously is not in that audience. I think a lot of the Digimon games are a pretty perfect example of this. I think Digimon games that have like genuinely standout reviews are very few and far between. I really like all of these games. None of them got great reviews. I think maybe Digimon World Dawn got like 7s, maybe the occasional 8. Digimon Survive got like 5s and 6s. Same with Digimon World, the first one, which is the only Digimon World I've played. I mean, of the original like PS1 Digimon Worlds. But yeah, these games are made for Digimon fans. Like, Digimon World is more of like a Tamagotchi game than like an RPG. Like, your Digimon like poops and you have to take it to the bathroom or else it turns evil because it poops on the floor too much, which, as we all know, is the most evil thing anybody could do. But yeah, it does not play like someone wanting a monster catching RPG would want it to play. It plays like a Tamagotchi game, which makes sense because it's Digimon. But someone who wants a monster catching RPG, Digimon World Dawn does give them that. And it does also incorporate the Tamagotchi element in a way that's not like the entire game. I definitely like Dawn more than Digimon World. But yeah, it still has that Tamagotchi aspect where like you send your Digimon to the farm and they like train themselves, and you can kind of see them hanging out on your other screen while you play the game on the other available screen. If you can't tell, I forgot the orientation. I don't know which one's on the top, which one's on the bottom. But I promise I've played this game. I just forget how it's oriented. This game kind of had the scalar issue of, it's like a monster catcher. It's a pretty good one. It's super solid. It's not Pokemon, who I guess did it first. I mean, obviously Dragon Quest did it first or whatever, or Shin Megami Tensei. Shush, I know. But it's not like the premier doer of this. But this is the Digimon game that people wanted. So it always shocks me that this game didn't do better, because I feel like people's complaints are always that Digimon games like aren't what they're expecting or what they feel like a Digimon game should be. Speaking of that, this is genuinely like my favorite game I've played this year. It's at least in the top 3. And it's a visual novel, which is weird because generally I don't like visual novels. And this game probably got the middest reviews out of all 3 of these, and it's probably my favorite one. Just because I think my favorite thing about Digimon, when compared to things like Pokemon, is just how it tells stories. There's just something so like earnest and heartfelt about Digimon, even when the stories are a bit like convoluted in what they're trying to get at, which Survive definitely has that issue. There's like some, I don't know, like ethereal psychology, psychoanalysis type stuff going on with the Digimon world crossing into our world and it being like a mirror or whatever. Yeah, I don't 100% follow, but talking to Agumon for 30 hours, that's like my dream life, and you get to do this in this game. It also has strategy RPG elements to it, like a Fire Emblem game, pretty much, where you just move your Digimon around a board. That's fun enough. Like, the combat's solid, but it really genuinely is not the focus of this game. If you're like hoping to play this game and just like skip through the dialogue and have a good strategy RPG lying under it, you won't really have that. You'll have a strategy RPG that's like good enough to string along a heartfelt story with good characters that is just, I wouldn't say a joy because it's pretty sad, but it hooks you in and you want to you want to get to know these characters and what they're doing and how their stories end. But yeah, I don't know. I love this game, and it got like a 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10 reviews from a lot of reviewers, just because I don't think they wanted to talk to Agumon as much as I did, which sounds like a stupid thing to say, but genuinely, that's who this game is targeted at. Like, if you're someone who just wants to experience the Digimon world, no pun intended, and like talk to its characters and just get invested in a story that happens in this universe, you're gonna love this game. If you're anyone besides that, this game probably is mid. But yeah, it's just another example of why reviews don't necessarily always tell the full story. I think it's also like kind of building off that, just important to keep in mind that these reviews 9 times out of 10 are presenting this game to like a wide audience. So it's like, there are certain things that some people may love and other people may hate, and the reviewer probably takes that into account. And it's like, if this game is super tailored to one type of person, it'll score lower because the general population isn't going to like it as much. Another pretty mid game that's close to my heart is Ribbit King. I know this game's like super expensive. I actually got it for $5 outside of a GameStop. Or actually, it was inside of a GameStop. It just wasn't from the GameStop employees. Maybe I'll tell that story someday. If this gets to 51 likes, I'll tell the story of how I got Ribbit King for $5. But obviously, this game got like 5 or 6 out of 10s, just like all the games in this video, pretty much. I really love it. I love golf games in general. Arcade golf games are awesome. Golf in real life is stupid, and it wastes a lot of space and water, and we shouldn't keep building golf courses. But you can play video games of it, and it's super fun. And then just look at this game. Like, if you've ever met me, obviously, this is exactly the kind of stuff I like. This general art style is awesome. And, people compared it a lot to games like Mario Golf and stuff and said the depth wasn't really there, which is true. Like, in terms of what you have as options in like your arsenal when you're golfing, it's pretty limited. This game has like an item system that's pretty unique, I'd say. But beyond that, there's not much to it. But the maps are really where this game stands out. They're super fun. They take the arcadiness up to like 12. Like, there are some maps that are just like so kind of abstract that you don't even play them like golf. Like, you need to land on certain places to get enough points, just beyond even like scoring and getting in the hole. That's whatever. Like, it doesn't even feel like you're playing a golf game. You have to kind of strategize differently, and that really is where this game shines. As a golf game, sure, you don't get like the depth that you'd get in like a PGA, is that what it's called, whatever game, where like you can choose every little minutia about like your clubs and whatever. But this has super fun courses. And yeah, even though it is just another golf game, it is another golf game that perfectly nails the aesthetics that I like and has a super fun and arcadey feel. To me, this game's genuinely like a 9, maybe even 10 out of 10. Like, I really love this game. You can look at reviews. I pretty much always do, honestly, when I'm buying a game. I mean, I'm more apt to either I'll go to like Metacritic, like something super general, and just see like the very brief overview of how people feel about the game, or I'll take advice from someone who's more into that type of game, so I can get kind of a more in-depth review. I do that a lot with like fishing games and stuff because I really do like fishing games, but they're not the most popular genre ever. So it's always best to take advice from aficionados, if you will, on those types of games. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know. What do you guys think both about reviews? What are some mid games that you guys love? And how do you feel about this style of content? Do you want to see more solo things from me? Do you want me to shut up and just let Andy talk more? Let me know, and have a good day.